Welcome back to episode 148 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. It's 2024, Troy, but not really, right? Because today it's 2024, January 1st, when this episode drops, but we're recording on Sunday, right around 3 p.m. our time, kind of get the podcast done right before, I guess, the New Year's celebrations begin. You got big plans tonight, Troy, for New Year's Eve?
Nope. Sit on the couch and watch TV with my wife and kids and probably go to bed early. Who knows? Okay. I got to ask now, where are you? Like, I see your background. You're the man of many backgrounds. This is like your fourth or fifth different one. Are you at in-laws cabin?
No, I'm on location for my hometown, Hibbing, Minnesota.
There you go.
I'm in my sister's childhood bedroom.
Nice.
So a lot of pink in that stuff. She had a desk here from high school, and it kind of worked for my computer setup. So we're going with that. Now, we are on my parents' Wi-Fi, so say a short prayer, Troy, because it'll be a miracle if this episode gets recorded. I don't know if they've like updated their router ever.
Are they on like a 28K modem?
No idea. So yeah, we're just gonna hope for the best here. It is 2024. Happy to be with you all. Hope you had a very safe and happy New Year's Eve celebration. Lot to get to on our show today. Well, you just dropped the bombshell that Kaprizov was hurt. I was so busy getting ready for the show, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kaprizov and Gustafsson are under evaluation. Now they're playing today, and obviously I don't know what's going on, if they're playing or not, but I saw the pop-ups on my notifications come up. So we'll have to do that afterwards. I'll have to look and see what's going on.
Just a quick reminder before we get started that our show, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, is a Patreon podcast, which means we rely on support from listeners like yourself and partners, which we'll get to in a second, to help us cover our show expenses, produce more and hopefully better hockey card content, and to fund initiatives, even in a small way, to grow the hockey hobby. Very easy to support us. It's as little as $5 a month. You can join our $1.99 support level tier. You also get access to our exclusive Gong Show Discord server and chat with our community there on a daily basis. Very easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link at the top of the page. We put the link in the show description for whatever podcast app you might be listening to us on, or if you're watching us on YouTube, it's there too. It's also on Patreon's website. You can just go to patreon.com and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show, and then in our Instagram and TikTok profiles, there's a link there too. We have a new patron, and it's a kind of, as you're kind of showing on the screen, it's from our new partner program. So I suppose we should maybe mention it because we've been kind of tinkering with this and slow rolling it out. But first, we want to thank very, very much Briere47, who's a loop breaker. He's the first partner to join a new partner program. And basically what it is, it's a program that we've been thinking about that we are running through Patreon that will allow us to help promote maybe some smaller hobby businesses. By some miracle, Troy, the show has gained a following to a point where to sponsor us is not super feasible for, smaller companies, solopreneurs, breakers, maybe small card shops, etc. And then on the flip side, we don't want a show that's 90% ads either, because that would not be good. And we wouldn't want to listen to a show like that either. So we've been kind of trying to find a way to balance a program that it can help small hobby businesses out and allow us to or them to use our platform to kind of let everyone know what they have going on. And like I meant, we do have our first partner. It's Briere47. He breaks hockey on the Loop app. I think he's broke hockey for 3 years now. He does a blend of personals, pick your teams, random team breaks, and hit draft picks. Typically 3 nights a week at 10 p.m. Eastern. Loop is available in the US and Canada. And he uses a service called Ship My Cards to, I think Brew is here in the US, and he uses Ship My Cards to help out his Canadian customers get cheaper shipping. So thank you to Brew. We're really looking forward to helping you promote your business. And actually I went, and I got to be honest, I hadn't, we trying to get to know all of these partners a little bit. I downloaded the Loop app. Had you ever had experience on Loop, Troy?
I was waiting for a break because I was going to be like, this is the impetus for me to download the Loop app and sign up and get set up so I can jump in some of his breaks and check them out. And it's Brew Medic 47 again. But yeah. I'm excited to try Loop. I never tried it. So this will, after the show, that's what I'm going to do. Sign up.
If you want more information on our partner program, kind of what we have spelled out there, you can go to Patreon, our Patreon as well. All right, Troy, we got a lot to get into today. You ready for the game plan?
I am. But before that, I have verified that Kaprizov and Gustafsson are not playing today. They are upper body injury for Kaprizov. It looks like lower body injury for Gustafsson. So whatever. Wild season over. That's where two of the main guys are gone, but that's just us being fatalists. But anyways, on today's show, we begin with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 48. Then it's off to who's hot in the struggle bus. Next, we take a look at some hobby news. Then it's followed by a look at our last year's hobby predictions to see how we did. Did we get it right, Josh, or do we completely blow it? Which is what I would assume, but who knows? I haven't even seen how we did on our predictions. Then we take a look at explaining why 2024 could be an epic hobby year for hockey cards. We then go to new product releases, and we end the show with our Gong Show mailbag and personal pickups. Okay, Josh, previously looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all the numbers, so we are now looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners-ups in the Hockey Writers' Greatest NHL Player to Wear Each Number article. The almost greatest NHL player to wear number 48 for the nominees in the Hockey Writers' Greatest NHL Player to Wear Each Number article, and selected by me, is Daniel Briere. I was so focused on the last name, I screwed up his first name. Daniel Briere.
Danielle.
Yeah, but I've definitely heard of this guy, so I knew he was, and I think a lot of people are going to remember him from a not so nice story in a little bit, but we will get to that in interesting fun facts. Josh, the other nominee at number 48 was Tyler Kennedy, who I had no clue who that was, and as a reminder, the greatest to wear number 48 was Scott Young. As everyone remembers, famous episode number 48 was Scott Young. I don't know how many people remember that one, but all right. Daniel Briere.
I don't. I honestly, I'm like, who is that?
Yeah, I had to even refresh my own memory. So Daniel Briere, he's a center from Gatineau, Quebec. Briere was selected 24th overall in the 1996 NHL entry draft by the Phoenix Coyotes, and that threw me for a loop because I was like, there's no way they've been around since 96. But yep, that was their first year, was the 96-97 season. So I just felt old and got sad. But anyways, Briere played in 973 regular season NHL games over a 17-season NHL career. Briere played 5 3/4 seasons with Phoenix to begin his career. He then had stints with Buffalo, Philadelphia, Montreal, and the Avalanche. For his awards and accomplishments, Josh, he's a 2-time All-Star game participant. I feel like I'm giving out participation trophies right now. Good job that you made it. He actually wasn't that bad. He wasn't that bad of a player at all. For his career, 307.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, everyone gets a trophy. 307 goals, 389 assists for 696 points during his NHL regular season career. Briere made the playoffs in 10 of his 17 NHL seasons, compiling 53 goals, 63 assists for 116 points in 124 NHL playoff games played. Best season of his NHL career from a point standpoint was 06-07 season, where Briere had 32 goals, 63 assists for 95 points in 81 games played with the Buffalo Sabres. I don't even remember these jerseys. Do you remember these jerseys? I was so thrown for a loop, but that's them. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like them or not. I
ugly.
just
No.
if you're watching on YouTube,
No, they're ugly.
You can see what we're talking about. Briere is best known for being one of the top Stanley Cup performers in NHL history. He averaged 0.93 points per playoff game. Now, Josh, this is our third straight player that was listed as 5'9". I don't know what the world's trying to tell us, what is going on, but I think that's freaky that we've had 3 guys in a row that were 5'9". We had Jared Spurgeon, Torrey Krug, and now Daniel Briere. And I bring this up because we will have a little bit more on his height in fun facts on what that led him to do. It's pretty interesting.
I got an idea, Troy.
What's up?
That could be a new PC for you.
There you go. The 5'9" club. Oh, that's a t-shirt idea. And then you have 5'9" club, and then you have the guys on the back of the jersey or on the back of the t-shirt that are all 5'9". Briere was a very effective point producer during his career. He had 8 seasons of 50 or more points. He also had 8 seasons of 20 or more goals. All right, Josh. After retiring, Briere, I'm going to keep botching his name, worked in the Flyers organization. In June 2017, Briere was appointed to run the day-to-day operations of the Maine Mariners that had been purchased by the Flyers owners. During the 21-22 season, Briere was named the special assistant to the general manager for the Flyers. On March 10th of this year, the Flyers named Briere interim general manager, eventually promoting him to permanent general manager on May 11th of this year. I guess they really had to make sure they got it right. He went through the whole gamut of being the interim assistant and all that for the general manager, but now he's the general manager, the GM. So for his fun and interesting facts, here we go. During his time in Buffalo, he earned the nickname Cookie Monster from Sabres play-by-play announcer Rick, and I am going to butcher this. It's like Janeret or Jeanneret. I'm sure every Buffalo Sabres fan is screaming at me because it's probably something easy for them. But that's the announcer for his notoriety for shooting top shelf. As the announcer said, where mama hides the cookies. Just like our friend, top shelf cookie sniper.
Yeah, there you go.
I love it. To help, okay, here's about his height. To help become stronger and more physical to combat his 5'9" frame, Briere did off-season strength training with Canadian World Strongest Man competitor Hugo Girard, who shares Gatineau as a hometown. I don't think I've heard of many hockey players working out with the World's Strongest Man competitors, but I found that really interesting. When Briere signed with the Flyers in 2007, his contract was front-loaded, Josh, which paid him $10 million his first year. This made him the highest-paid player in the NHL, along with Scott Gomez and Thomas Vanek. You heard that right. Vanek and Gomez and this guy, Briere, were the highest-paid players in the NHL in 2007. I had to verify that one. I think I got that right.
We watched Vanek a lot when he was with the Wild, and he was a total shell of himself.
He was a shell of himself, but we also watched him with the Gophers when he was a god on the ice. Like, he was awesome with the Gophers. All right, so if you, this is kind of where when I first read this name, something was in my craw. I was like, I've heard this name. Where did this come up? Well, unfortunately, if anyone remembers seeing the video of I think it was a couple of college hockey players at Mercyhurst, and one of them pushes a wheelchair down the stairs at a bar, that was his son. And that's why I think his son got kicked off the team after that one. But there is a huge thing about that. Like, there's video footage of him just, I don't know, it's at a bar or nightclub, whatever, and there's a wheelchair at the top, and he just looks at it and kind of pushes it down and breaks it and everything. It was one of the people there, which was her wheelchair. So not a very good incident, but again, not his fault. It was his son's fault. But if you remembered the name and maybe were thinking how you remembered, that's probably why, because that was fairly recent that happened. All right, Josh, his rookie card. Here we go. This is something else. So if you're watching on YouTube, it's a 1996-97 Upper Deck Ice number 120. It's a World Junior card. This is what TCDB had. It's the only one they had listed as the RC designation. Now, first, let's go through this. There's only 2 graded copies of this card at PSA. There's one PSA 8 and one PSA 9. BGS has 14 total graded copies, with 6 being a BGS 9.5. Couldn't find any sales of the graded copies. Raw copies sell around for $5 US. Okay. Now, Josh, look at this card. Looks great. But then look at the back. And maybe this is something I just totally missed that they did back in the day. They literally just reverse imaged the photo, because you can see on the back the numbers are wrong, or they're backwards. Everything's flipped, like Bauer's backwards on his gloves. Now, I don't know if that's normal or is that just lazy card design, but I'm sitting here staring at the thing and I look at the back and I'm like, this looks like the same picture, just backwards. And it is, because everything's reversed. Just kind of
Do you like that though? I
no,
think it's
I hate
ugly.
it. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd do it. I'd rather have some other picture on the back, but maybe there's a reason, but whatever. And I also want to mention, since his rookie card's such a kind of mess and doesn't sell, graded copies are very rare, he does have our favorite all-time Future Watch auto in the SP Signature Edition Legends that came out this year. Was it this year that was actually released? Yeah, I think so. This one sells for around $20 to $25 US.
Well, 2023, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot better than his rookie card.
I would make this his rookie. This is his new rookie
maybe
card.
suggest that be his rookie card from now on.
Yeah. But anyways, interesting guy. Playoff performer, almost a point per game in the playoffs. It's kind of what he's known for. But very long, successful NHL career, and now it sounds like a good front office career going too.
All right, Troy, we're going to move on to Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus. We did our special show last Monday on Christmas for, I guess, our episode, and we did not have Who's Hot last week. So kind of fun when there's been a couple week break and you can look back at the NHL leaderboard and see who the movers and shakers are and who's been in the have been in the NHL for the past week, and then maybe also some of the players where the struggle has been real. So for week 12 of the 2023-24 NHL season, we'll start with our picks for Who's Hot. First one got to go, Troy, is Patrick Kane. This is kind of crazy. I don't know if I would have predicted this. Would you, that he would have been off to the start he has?
Is he? Oh, no. And especially with, you're going to bring it up with the procedure he had, but holy cow, I guess it worked.
Yeah, no kidding. So the Detroit Red Wings forward, just starting the season, basically coming off that daunted hip resurfacing surgery, has been completely lighting it up over the past 2 weeks. And in his last 7 games played, Kane has put up 5 goals, 6 assists for 11 points on the season, giving him 6 goals, 7 assists for 13 points in 12 games played. It's pretty crazy. He's been more than a point per game player since coming back from that surgery that nobody to this point has really been able to come back from successfully. So the 3 guys that have had it before him are Ed Jovanovski, Nicholas Backstrom, and Ryan Kessler. And none of them were, I think Jovanovski never made it back. I don't think Kessler made it back. And Nicholas Backstrom has really struggled coming back. So pretty impressive. And, you never know, like, to what degree their injury was. Like, maybe his was to a lesser degree.
I would say, did he have less shaving? They had to shave less off of his.
The other guys. Oh, gross. Okay. So now, while Patrick Kane has been red hot, his team, the Detroit Red Wings, have definitely not. So they're 2-8-1 since Kane joined the lineup. And this blew my mind because I was like searching for articles on Patrick Kane, just wanted to see what the vibe was out there about him. And I saw a bunch of speculation he might get traded,
of course,
before the trade deadline. So it sounds like if Detroit is not in playoff position as the deadline near, a move could be possible. But I think he does have a no movement clause, so he'd have to be.
I was just looking that up.
With any, with any deal going down. I don't know. It just seems crazy that after 12 games that they would already, in him playing so well, that they would, unless he tells them that, listen, I'm not going to re-sign here next year. But how would you even know that after 12 games? And then at some point, do you get like a reputation like some of these NBA guys get, where they seem to be on a different team every year?
Yeah, maybe. He does.
But that being said,
he does have a no trade clause, and he's only making $2.75 million, so it ain't too shabby, or it's not too much money, but very interesting.
You think any playoff team might be able to find a way to pick him up if that was really his intention. And over his play over the last 12 games, he's certainly turned himself, I would think, into an attractive trade asset for any playoff caliber team. So Patrick Kane is a 2007 Young Guns. His PSA 10 popped 373, has a 33% gem rate, last sold for $752 on December 17th. It's down about 14% in the past 3 months. Be curious to see what happens with Mark. I mean, I think so many variables now. Does he continue to play well? What do the Red Wings do? Does he get traded to a contender where he, there wasn't that big of a jump last year when he went to, or I don't think any jump when he went to the Rangers last year. So I don't know. He just might be, it is what it is at this point because he's so far into his career. What do you think?
Yeah. And actually, I like his Young Guns from pop counts perspective, it's actually low. It's not like 2,000, 3,000. So that's kind of interesting to me. But I am interested to see what this does and if he moves or what happens with it.
All right, you got the next guy.
I do. Josh, it's our boy. He's been left off way too long. I think this season, every time I've looked up, I think he's been near the top of like the most points in my like time frame for a week or two. So now it's time to give him his due. But if you're watching on YouTube, you see the picture. It's Nathan MacKinnon. Over the past 2 weeks, he has 7 goals, 6 assists for 13 points in 6 games played. That's 2.17 points per game. That's pretty good. In fact, this season, MacKinnon has been a kind of a stud out in Colorado. 36 games played. He has 19 goals, 37 assists for 56 points, which is sitting at 1.56 points per game. Currently on pace for 128 points this season. So again, pretty good. He is second in the NHL in points, 9th in goals, and 1st in assists. He's definitely in the running right now for the Hart Trophy. Obviously, the season's still got a long ways to go, but he's having a pretty good season so far. The Avs are really good. They're sitting in first place in the Central Division with a record of 22, 11, and 3. And it's kind of funny, Josh. I did the same thing you did. I was going out looking at articles, seeing what's being said about MacKinnon, and I came across one by the Hockey Writers, and the writer was Adam. I'm going to say his name wrong. Proteau, Proteau, and he actually makes the case for how MacKinnon is still underrated. And I was like, that's interesting because it's kind of funny how I see him on the top of the list for the who's hot and kind of just skipped him because I'm like, I kind of boring. He's not in the media that much. They got McCarr, they got Rantanen, they got some other players. But yeah, I kind of get it. When I read the article, it's short, but he's just kind of a quiet guy, but he's having an awesome year. So I am really intrigued to see how his season plays out.
I totally agree with that. Like when you're like have to think on the fly of like who like the hobby elite guys are, or even the NHL elite guys are. He never comes to mind.
No. It's amazing. He is just a stud, and he keeps producing. And he just keeps going, and we kind of forget about him sometimes. And so MacKinnon is a 2013 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop is 1,453 with a gem rate of 55%. Most recent sales have been around 450 US. And in October, this card was all over the place. It was from 400 to 500. It traded in that range. So you could say it's maybe down a little bit or just basically flat if you want to take the averages. I'm sure it worked out to probably around 450. But again, high pop count, but low gem, or let's say mediocre gem rate of 55%, which is kind of good. But
yeah,
you can definitely find this card if you want it.
All right, the last guy we're going to feature for week 12 and who's hot is Sebastian Aho. Nobody in the NHL has more points over the past 2 weeks than Aho. Now, this is the one from the Hurricanes, not the Islanders. So I got a fun fact for you right off the bat, Troy.
All right, let's do it.
Sebastian Aho's plural. So the Sebastian Aho, who's a defenseman for the Islanders, is from Sweden. And our guy here, who we're talking about today, is Sebastian Aho, who's the forward for the Hurricanes, is from Finland. Not even from the same country. Crazy. The Finnish forward has 4 goals, 12 assists for 16 points in the last 7 games played. Giving him now 15 goals, 27 assists for 42 points in 34 games on the season. We're already in the 8th season now for the 26-year-old Aho. And at this pace, he's projected to finish 2023-24 at 36 goals, 65 assists for 101 points, which would be the highest point total of his career. His best season to date was 2018-19, where he had 30 goals and 83 points. So to go from 30 goals to 36 goals and 83 to 101 points, that's a nice jump for Aho at this point. And so having a pretty good year to start. He leads the Hurricanes in goals, assists, and points by pretty wide. Well, I think goals maybe by 2, but definitely assists and points by pretty wide margin this year. And right now, his team is in second place behind the Rangers in the Metropolitan Division with 44 points, which is also good for 4th in the Eastern Conference. Kind of another interesting thing that I was looking up Aho a little bit today. He's been really dominant at the international level. So in 2016, he led Finland to the gold at the World Junior Championships with 14 points in 7 games. And then in 2018, Troy, while Finland took 5th at the World Championships, which is nothing to write home about, but he
Yeah.
was named the best forward of the tournament with 9 goals, 9
Mm.
assists for 18 points in 8 games played. So he tends to light it up on the international stage there. Everything I hear about the Hurricanes is what's killing him is their goaltending.
Yeah.
So you have
Yep.
doesn't matter how many goals
Well, I
scored
think
at this point.
Kochetkov actually did pretty well the last 3 games. So maybe the tides are
Okay.
turning there, but who knows?
Sebastian Aho is a 2016 Young Guns. PSA 10 pop 788, 51% gem rate, less sold for $100 even. When was the last time that happened?
Yeah.
On December 24th. Up 92% in the past month. So maybe people are starting to get back on the Sebastian Aho from Finland and who plays for the Hurricanes bandwagon. Well, there it is. Along with my parents' internet, we got struggling. We got some people, like a few players, that are struggling pretty bad too, and definitely have a seat on the struggle bus this week. We'll let you start off, Troy. You've got pretty much a no-brainer here.
Yeah. I'll start off. And our internet definitely is struggling because I think we were having a delay where we're kind of like I'm talking, but you don't get it, and then you start talking over me, and then we talk over each other. So that was fun. I think that might have fixed itself, but if it is, apologies to everyone.
Yeah.
We're not trying to do that on purpose. All right. So here we go. Josh, this is like you said, this one's probably been a long time coming. You actually sent me a Spit and Chicklets, I think it was an Instagram post of a tweet from Chris Johnston, who has the handle at Reporter Chris, that stated, of the 60 NHL goalies with at least 10 appearances this season, Ilya Samsonov is dead last among them with a .840 save percentage. So that earned Samsonov a spot on the struggle bus this week. And he has definitely struggled. And he's actually struggled most of the year. It's not like this is recent. This has been kind of ongoing. So he came into the season as the starter for Toronto, but that went south pretty quick as he was outplayed by Joseph Woll. And now Woll is hurt. So Martin Jones is now carrying the load for the Maple Leafs, with Samsonov getting a couple spot starts here and there. But it really looks like the writing's on the wall for him. I don't know if they move him or what they're going to do, but it is getting pretty bad. On the season, Samsonov, and this isn't that bad of a record. He's got 5 wins, 2 losses, 6 overtime losses, which again isn't that bad from a wins perspective. However, you look at the other analytics, his goals against is 3.94. Save percentage, as mentioned, is .84 and dead last among goalies with 10 or more appearances. And you just cannot have those numbers if you are a goalie in the NHL and expect your team to win.
Well, I think Troy's win-loss is okay because they score so many goals.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And, there's a really good article in The Athletic, basically, and it was written like a day or two ago, stating the Maple Leafs just cannot play him anymore. They have to stop it or move on. He's too much of a liability. This was just one of the lines in the article about his play against Columbus on Friday night. The Leafs dominated the Blue Jackets, winning 73% of expected goals and still fell in overtime, thanks in a large part to Samsonov. He surrendered 6 goals on only 21 shots. Pucks found their way by him in every which way possible, including an Adam Fantilli shot that beat him cleanly under the glove from 36 feet away and tied the score at 5. And then the number of goals against Samsonov has allowed in his last 4 starts, 4, 6, 5, 6. So it's going off the rails. They need to take a break or do something with him, because I just don't think it's working out there. But all of this combined puts him on the struggle bus. And obviously, once Joseph Woll comes back from his injury, how is Samsonov even going to play? Because Jones has been doing fine. Woll was doing fine, or was actually doing really well. So it'll be interesting to see what happens once Joseph Woll gets back, if they move him or whatever.
Well, Samsonov too he's like a real hothead, isn't he?
I don't know. Yeah, I thought I heard that, but I'm not sure. I know,
like he'll like really go after reporters a little bit and like chirp back at him, I think.
I know he's gotten harsh on himself before in interviews where he'll just straight up say I
Okay.
stunk with using harsher language than that, but we're a family show. But yeah, he might be. So he's a 2018 Young Guns. His PSA 10 pop is 438 with a gem rate of 72%. Last sale was around a whopping 23 US dollars via eBay. Early October, this card went anywhere from 30 to 50 US. So it's kind of fallen down and sits right about where I expected.
All right. Joining Ilya Samsonov on the struggle bus this week is Penguins defenseman Erik Karlsson. Got to give an assist to California Dave from the Gongshow Discord for nominating Karlsson for a seat on the struggle bus this week. So thank you, Dave. In the month of December, Troy, Karlsson has scored 0 goals, added 5 assists for 5 points in 12 games played. Not horrible numbers for an NHL defenseman, but maybe not when we're coming off the first 100-point season, right? For a defenseman since 1991, it's a huge drop in production, and probably not what Penguins fans were hoping for or expecting this season out of Karlsson. So if you look at his season to date, Troy, the 33-year-old now has 6 goals, 17 assists for 23 points in 34 games played, giving him a pace for the season of 14 goals, 61 assists, and 75 points. Again, not terrible, right? I mean, I would take a 75-point defenseman on the Wild any day, but he was off to a pretty hot start, and then things have really come down since December. And the content out there is not pretty on Karlsson either. So I saw a couple articles that threw out the idea of benching him, and he's the reigning Norris Trophy winner.
Jeepers.
And maybe like a game or two to provide him a jolt to maybe get out of that slump. And then there's this one article that was talking about Pittsburgh fans and kind of how fed up they are with him, and just post after post being really brutal on social media. And I think it boils down, of course, to I think expectations at times, and how sometimes players can have a really great season and that kind of backs them into a corner because not only did he score over 100 points last year, he has a $92 million contract. So when what he's doing right now isn't going to satisfy, I don't think, especially at that level of pay, the fans. And just the expectations are super high. Part of what's I think has been hurting his stats the most, and maybe the team the most, is their power play. They're converting to only 14% of their chances, ranking near the bottom of the NHL. And I saw some quotes from Karlsson about it. Of course, he has no idea. It's funny when you're 40 or 35 games into a season, your power play stinks, and then the reporter goes in and says, "Why is your power play so bad?" And it's like, if you think I knew, fix it, kind of. But so yeah, and again, I just don't know how realistic it was, or I wonder in some ways if this is sort of like a trap situation where he was sort of setting himself up for, to kind of have a fall this year, and that probably, and not just on like the superstar scale, but I'm sure that this happens to a lot of NHL players where by I guess you call it luck, right? Where they have on their contract year, they have their biggest season, and then they get a big number, right? And now the expectations go way up, and they kind of revert back to the norm. Then it's really hard for them to live up to those expectations, I would assume.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think the big knock on him too is his defensive play, but I don't think that's been a problem this year. And again, I hate plus minus. I think it's a dumb statistic, but it's kind of interesting to look at. He's actually positive this year, where usually he's been negative. So I thought that was pretty interesting about his play. But yeah, I just never have been a Karlsson Bobo. I don't know how he can make that much money given his advanced analytics and stuff, but there it is.
Well, Karlsson is a 2009-10 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 236, 45% gem rate, last sold for $180 in December 9th. It's down about 11% in the past 3 months. All right, so that's Who's Hot and the Struggle Bus for Week 12 in the NHL. Remember on Who's Hot, we had Patrick Kane, Nathan MacKinnon, and Sebastian Aho. Pretty star-studded Who's Hot this week. And then riding the Struggle Bus, Ilya Samsonov and Erik Karlsson. Got to make a quick Slap Sharks mention before we move on, Slapshark sponsors our show. We're very, very grateful to them for their support. So after their holiday hiatus, the weekly Slapsharks eBay auctions, Troy, start up again this Thursday, January 4th. They're taking submissions, I think, now as of January 2nd. So you can drop them off. You can send them in if you're at a card show. And I don't know if there will be any this week, but they always have reps in Canada at card shows there. I'm sure this first auction out of the gate is going to be an absolute banger. So you're going to want to have your cards in there. Currently, though, there still is an auction live, as they've been doing kind of all through their break, as they're relisting auctions. And then they're also listing cards that were submitted maybe as their kind of cutoff hit. And for not having auctions, they tend to have pretty awesome cards. So don't sleep on this. Go to slapsharks.com, check out a link to the auction. I picked out just 5 that I thought were pretty crazy. So the first one is a huge card.
Yeah, that's
Huge card. 2021 OPG Platinum Cole Caulfield Rookie Autos Golden Treasures 101 tag 8.5. Now, if you remember, this is the card.
Well, I was
that
gonna say, is this
sold
the
on
one?
4th of July.
Is this the one pulled here by two brothers? Two bros?
Yeah. Where are they? In
Coon Rapids, Brooklyn Center, Champlain Park, somewhere in there.
But it was raw, so whoever bought it had it graded at tag, it looks like. And I think it went for $12,000.
Wow.
On July 4th. Now, I mean, his shine is not as bright as it was then, so we'll see what happens. But pretty massive card. And then the next card that really showed up to me is a card I really just like, because I like Leon Draisaitl, as most people know. But I think this is a cool RPA.
Yeah.
It's got the ice logo, which Troy doesn't like, so we'll get over that. But it's a 2014 Upper Deck Ice Leon Draisaitl. It's the Ice Premieres, the rookie patch auto parallel, or it's not a 10, it's a PSA 8, so very low pop. Cool 3-color patch. I don't know, I just think it's a cool card. Now here, Troy, is a 2016-17 William Nylander, who we could have put in Who's Hot again this week. I think he's 4th in the NHL in points on the or third leading point scorer this season. Young Guns BGS 10 Pristine. So highest graded Young Guns. That's a cool card. And then I think I saved my favorite for last. I'm guessing this would be your favorite too. It's a 1999 Be a Player Millennium, Curtis Joseph, NHL Shield, Game Used Shield. Now, I was thinking when I looked at this card, Troy, that this would be kind of a fun set to collect.
Yeah. I wonder how much these go for. I'll have to watch this auction because I'm curious. Is this like the first Shield cards? It's kind of neat that it's on, like, it's not an Upper Deck card. It's a Be a Player card.
Yeah, and obviously they were figuring out the presentation, because it's like not exactly centered in the window, but it is kind of cool, and I like the card design. I like the color match with the blue. So so again, check out slapsharks.com for a link to the auction. Place your bids on any of these 5 cards or many of the others that they have live this week. And then, of course, if you're a Canadian hockey cards collector, we'd seriously recommend checking out Slapsharks eBay consignment services. They make it very easy to sell your cards on eBay. All you need to do is ship them your cards, drop them off, submit them at one of the many trade shows they have reps at. Then they do it all. They take awesome photos, list of cards, answer buyer questions, hunt down payments, ship to Canada and the US, and then handle any post-sale issues. Remember, too, that they have the ridiculous Connor Bedard promotion, where they offering 98% payouts on all Bedard cards through June 2024. So for complete consignment information and to start submitting your cards, then today head to slapsharks.com. Happy news! We got a World Junior Championships update, Troy.
All right, here we go.
When these tournaments are in Europe, like I want to try to watch games, and then I realize that they're at like 4 in the morning. Makes it a little tough.
Yeah,
so I'm catching highlights. So group play for the 2024 IIHF World Junior Championships concluded Sunday. Actually, I think the last game might be still going on live. We're going to do a little live look in a second. And then is it still going on?
Nope, it's over. Canada won.
No, it's over.
Quarterfinals are set.
All right, awesome. Yeah, so quarterfinals begin January 2nd. And then semifinals on Thursday, and then the championship and third place games are on Friday. So by the end of the week, we'll have a new World Junior Champion. Looking at leading scorers very early on through group play, and this wasn't through the last Canada game. So, We'll maybe have Troy do a live look in on MacKinnon and Celebrini. But earlier this morning, Slovakia's Servak Petrovsky led the tournament so far with 5 goals, 4 assists for 9 points in 4 games played. Petrovsky, Troy, is 19 years old and was a 6th round pick by our Minnesota Wild.
Oh, there we go. Good.
Yeah. Very, very good. Then all tied with 8 points. Celebrini is up there now too, so he has 8 points as well.
Yeah.
So Celebrini joins 3 Americans: Gavin Brindley, who's a Blue Jackets draft pick and prospect; Cutter Gauthier, who's just, I think, killing it in college hockey this year and is a Flyers prospect; and then Frank Nazar, 13th overall pick by the Blackhawks in 2022, and then now Canada's Macklin Celebrini, who I think is many think is the presumptive number 1 pick in the 2024 NHL entry draft. All have 8 points. So, and then Filip Mesar from Slovakia he rounded out the top 5 before Celebrini was in there. He has 7 points in 4 games, and he's a first-round selection of the Canadiens in 2022. The goalie leaderboard, Troy, has been pretty impressive as well. So last I checked, Hugo Havlid from Sweden had 2 shutouts. Trey Augustine from Team USA, .952 save percentage in 2 games. That's pretty impressive. And then did Mathis Roseau from Canada, did he play again today?
I'm guessing he did. I'm guessing he
dropped
did.
A little bit. He dropped a little bit, but he was doing pretty well earlier. So now the quarterfinals should be set, right? What are the matchups in the quarters?
All right, so matchups. Let me zoom out a little. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm doing fun stuff. Let's go. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. All right. So yes, quarterfinals will be Slovakia versus Finland, Canada versus Czechoslovakia, USA versus Latvia, and then Sweden versus Switzerland. And that should be it. I think. What's Germany, Norway? Is that the quarterfinal? Must be it.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I wish they did a bracket on their website so we could see like when
it's the IHF. They are the most disorganized bunch of lunatics. They don't get me started.
Okay.
I just don't want to start on them.
Troy doesn't want to get banned from international tournaments.
So. Yeah, no kidding.
Good thing to keep your mouth shut right now. I just got one more story in hobby news this week, and this one I gotta know if you know about, because I was like, what is this? And so Flower, our guy Marc-Andre Fleury, who's probably getting a lot of playing time now with if Gustafson's hurt, will they call up Wallstedt then, Troy?
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
you never know. So, and I didn't know this was a thing, but there's this award called the Unmasked Goalie of the Year. Had you ever heard of it?
No clue what this is. It sounds like they just made it up, but it's not.
But the NHL.com was making like a huge deal of it on their homepage. So I'm like, okay. So per NHL.com, the Unmasked Goaltender of the Year award is awarded to the player who has strived to they're trying to strive to recognize someone or something so they can give the award to a thing that dominates conversations in the goalie world during the past 12 months. It's also kind of weird timing for an award. Like, you expect awards to be in the off season, right?
Yeah.
But it's the 6th time the award has been presented, and the 2nd time, the only 2-time winner is Marc-Andre Fleury. So that's kind of cool, I guess, for us Wild fans. Now, the past winners, the inaugural award, of course, went to Pekka Rinne. Got to do that.
Right? Of course. Why wouldn't you?
You're not a legitimate goalie award unless you give the first one to Pekka Rinne. Make Troy happy. Then Robin Lehner in 2019, Big Cat, Andrei Vasilevsky in 2020, Flower in 2021, Linus Ullmark last year, and then Flower, of course, again this year. Now, Marc-Andre Fleury is actually, and I'm guessing this is kind of why he got the award, he's really on the doorstep of a couple of huge NHL milestones. Number one, he's 2 starts away from his 1,000th game.
No, I think he hit 1,000, didn't he?
Oh, really?
He should have. Oh, no, he's 1 away because he had to come in for Gustafsson. So it's not starts, it's games played. So he came in for Gustafsson, so then he gets 1. So now he's at 999. And they played today. I bet he hit 1,000 today. Because I'm guaranteed he played.
Yeah, I think I did this like a day or so ago.
Yeah. There you go.
So only 3 other current NHL goalies played in 1,000 games. Or no, only 3 NHL goalies have ever played
Yeah.
in 1,000
Yeah.
games other than Flower. It's Martin Brodeur at 1,266, Roberto Luongo at 1,044, and Patrick Waugh at 1,029. So you got now Fleury at 1,000. And then I was curious, well, who's the next closest active goalie? And it'd be Jonathan Quick with 766. So he's never going to get there. There's
Yeah.
no
You,
way.
you mean you mean Vezina candidate Jonathan Quick? The man has
Vezina
been
candidate.
unstoppable this year. He's crazy.
What a renaissance. Yeah.
I know.
And then Officer Bob, Sergei Bobrovsky has 669.
Ugh.
And I don't know if this did they win? Did the Wild win today?
Great question. I'll look it up while you talk.
Because at the time I wrote this too, Flower was only 1 win away from tying Patrick Waugh for second all time in wins, which would be his 551st victory.
They lost.
Of course. Martin Brodeur's all-time wins record is probably pretty safe at 691.
Yeah.
But again, be second all-time in wins is kind of crazy. Huge milestones. I mean, probably as big as goalie records as you're going to get. Maybe other than Vezina trophies that you have or Stanley Cups that you've won. And it kind of made me try to re-examine the big picture on Flower a little bit. He does have 3 Stanley Cups. He has 1 Vezina award. He'll be one of only 4 goalies to ever play in 1,000 games. And that what I was reading about that, which made sense too, and we've talked about this, is that with how the goaltending role is so shared, that it might be a long time before another goalie gets to 1,000 games.
Yep. Oh, for sure. It's just there's too much load management that goes on now. Like what was it? We had those guys in the 80s that were playing 78 games or 80 some. Who's it? Glenn Hall? Is it Glenn Hall? I think it's Glenn Hall. Played some enormous number of straight games that will probably never be broken. And it's just that won't happen again. It just won't. We know too much.
So when you go back again to the big picture, like when you think of like all-time greatest goalies, right? It's the Jacques Plants, Terry Sawchucks, Patrick Waugh, Marty Brodeurs. And does Flower deserve to be in that vein now with 3 Stanley Cups, second all-time in wins, 4th player to play 1,000 games?
I think he deserves to be in the top 10 for sure. I don't know how you get him past the nostalgia that people will always have for Plant, Sawchuk. It's one of those era things. And I don't know. He's definitely in the top 10, maybe 5, 6, somewhere in there, but he's had a fantastic career. And 3 cups, that's pretty good for a goalie in today's game.
I'll be curious to see when he finally does retire. It doesn't sound like, again, it'll be this year, but maybe next year, the year after, what his hobby chase remains at once he's retired. Because I think that's like the big test, right? Is that are you still relevant in the hockey card hobby when you're no longer playing?
Well, plus he's Quebec, from Quebec? Is that where he's from? Or he's
Canadian? Yeah, Montreal area, I believe.
Canadian, so I think that helps him out even when he's retired.
Sure. All right, Marc-Andre Fleury is a 2003 Young Guns PSA 10 Pop 41.
Whew.
Crazy. That sold for $1,510 US on June 1st. They don't sell very often, Pop 41. Check this out, Troy. All-time high in this card, 4,300 US from April 11th, 2022.
Yep.
Yeah, you better be a big Fleury fan to work over that kind of dough.
For sure.
But congrats to Marc-Andre Fleury and all the PC guys out there who love Flower. Well, I'm really excited to do this one, Troy. Last year's hobby predictions.
Yep.
We keep very meticulous notes on our show, and we actually store them. I think we're on like document number 8 now. I had to go all the way back to document number 2.
Nice.
Page 95 to drum up. We did at the very start of 2023, we did kind of a predictions focused show. So I decided it'd be fun to look back and basically see how we did. And there's some user or listener polls in there too. So see how everyone else did too. So we're going to basically just roll through our 2023 predictions and see how bad we were. So first one was, who were the possible breakout candidates for 2023? We had 3, Troy.
Yep.
And I'm going to tell you, I think we did okay on these. So the first one was Jack Hughes. Very good start there. At the time, he had 20 goals and 41 points on the season. He'd end up finishing with 43 goals and 99 points. This season, of course, he has 14 goals, 40 points in just 28 games, and he's off to an amazing start. He had his hobby breakthrough, um, really probably starting late spring, but kind of really took off in the fall. All his cup cards have been going for a lot. Um, I think my new favorite hobby is finding ridiculous Jack Hughes photos. That's what I collect. It's just what an awesome photo, huh?
Yeah, half a tooth, or not even half. That's about a
Yeah.
16th of a tooth left in that mouth.
Yeah. So when we predicted Hughes as a breakout candidate last January, on January, I think it was January 2nd, his Young Gun PSA 10 had a pop of 2,461 and was selling for about 202 US dollars. Check this out though. Today, so 1 year later, a day less than a year, right? The pop is 4,337. Increase of 76% in pop count in 1 year. And it's selling for 305, so it went up.
It went up.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And if you ever like look at Young Guns, I think you can do this like in terms of like market cap because their pops are so high. It's like that's a huge increase in market cap, right? If
Yeah.
you're the total value of all the Jack Guns, Jack Hughes Young Guns out there, pretty crazy. So about a 51% increase in price. Now, this is kind of funny too. So we mentioned a Young Guns alternative as a Future Watch Auto last January as well. And we said that you could get it for about $480 raw. Last sale of the 2019 SB Authentic Jack Hughes Future Watch Auto out of $999 raw was 1,300 US on December 26th. So just a few days ago.
If we only took
171%.
if we only did our own advice and just loaded up when we said that, like an oracle or something.
Well, I think it's more accurately if you only listened to this one piece of advice and probably disregarded everything else, you would have done really, really
You're
well.
fantastic. So, great job.
1 for 1, Troy. We predicted Jack
go.
Hughes hobby breakout. Now, the second player we predicted, dare I say, we're going to be 2 for 2.
Oh,
we predicted Cole Caulfield was going to have a breakout 2023. I can feel my ego growing as we speak. We're 2 and 2, baby. So remember, this was January 2nd before he got hurt. We pointed that his age, his tendency to score goals, and the fact that he plays in huge hobby markets were reasons why we thought he was going to be a potential breakout candidate. Of course, we could have never predicted his injury just a couple weeks later, or that he would go on almost an inexplicable. I still don't know how it happened.
I know.
Hobby run after that because we were Cole Caulfield Bobos, and then he gets hurt, and we're like nailing his coffin shut, and then his cards are going up the whole time. So when he injured his shoulder it was at the end of last January, requiring season-ending surgery. He had 26 goals, 10 assists, and 46 games played. And the big thing was that he was on a 45 goal or something like that pace. Like that's what everyone kind of really globbed onto. And like I said, we kind of declared him hobby dead at that point for the foreseeable future because it's January. He's not going to play again until October at best. And you're out of sight, out of mind the whole time. And we've mentioned this maybe once before, but I think the combination of a weaker 2022-23 hobby class, a ton of 2021 releases that have happened last spring, summer, this fall, and probably people remembering that 40 goal plus pace, he kind of remained the big chase over the summer, and it was crazy. So this year, Troy, 12,910 Cole Caulfield cards have sold on the secondary markets in 2023. That's over 1,000 cards per month average, and that's pretty good. I mean, it's usually in the top 5 for all hockey players. 137 of those sales have been more for than $1,000 US dollars. So this is now where we got to do a little reading between the lines between pop counts and Young Guns values. Because at the time we named Caulfield that breakout candidate, his 2021 Young Guns PSA 10 had a pop of 864, 35.7% gem rate, and it was selling for about $400 last January. Today, his Young Guns PSA 10 has a pop of 2,884. Last sold for $165 on December 30th, right? Now his pop count has grown 234% in a year. I mean, more than 2,000
Yeah.
PSA 10s. And if you think about too, the gem rate is still pretty low, 34%. It actually went down. So think how many were submitted
I was just that was the
this
first
year.
thought in my head was how many. Man, that's a ton of submitted Cole Caulfield's. Paul, I just dropped my pen.
Just a crazy amount. So I think that you have to the fact that it's a lot lower to me is two things. It's the dramatic increase in pop count, and he honestly hasn't played very good this year.
Mhm.
So I think he's pacing for 21 goals and 58 points on the season. Canadians don't seem to be good in general. Our final breakout candidate prediction, Troy, was I think, well, no, we take an L here, but it was mainly probably
Yeah.
because of injury. Hard to predict. It was Andrei Svechnikov. So two of the three guys that we picked ended up having season-ending surgery basically a month later. Is this like the new Madden curse or something like that? You're going to get hurt if we pick you or what?
Yeah, it's the new Troy curse because I forgot to load up the picture. Hold on a sec.
No worries. So on March 11th, 2022, Svechnikov tore the ACL in his right knee, requiring surgery to keep him from finishing the 2023 season. And of course, then he missed the playoffs. At the time, he was pacing for about 30 goals and 70 points, which would have put him narrowly ahead of the season prior, where he had 30 goals and 69 points. The thought process was he's 22 years old at the time, on his way to a very good season, on a super good team, right? That many were thinking would have a deep playoff run, so giving him a lot of opportunity to shine in the postseason. Obviously, that didn't happen with the injury, but unlike Cole Caulfield, the hobby kind of, was more predictable here, right? He sort of faded out of sight, out of mind at
Mhm.
that point while he was recovering for his surgery. So, yeah, I think his Young Guns went down pretty dramatically after the injury. So at the time we made our prediction, he was pacing over 40 goals too. So he had dropped off a little bit too by the time he got hurt. And his 2018 Young Guns PSA 10 had a pop of 853, was selling for around 225 US dollars. Big spike from the beginning of the season when it was around 90. So it went from 90 last August or no, October to 225 in January. And then you look at today is 2018 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 1,106, last sold for 78 US dollars. So on December 31st, that's down even 13% since the start of the season. So he's definitely in the lukewarm, treading water kind of category in his Young Guns. And it kind of doesn't make sense to me too, in that, that's a big injury, tearing your ACL. And he wasn't exactly ready to start the season. So he didn't make his debut, Troy, until October 27th. He's only played 22 games so far. So a lot of other guys have played like 35, 36 games at this point. And he does have those 6 goals, 15 assists for 21 points in 22 games. Almost a point per game. And again, we're coming directly from a ACL tear. And I don't know, in my mind, that's not bad. So I'm going to say we went 2 for 3. Do you agree?
Agree. 2 for 3, maybe 1.95 out of 3, maybe.
Yeah.
Or 1.95.
Okay. Now's where it gets kind of fun, because in addition to our picking our breakout candidates, we did a number of listener polls on Instagram.
Yep.
And we're not going to go through all of them, but there's a few that are definitely worth reviewing. And so these are kind of polls that we did and I would say by and large, the hobby did well too. Yeah, just like us and in our prediction, with probably one huge exception. And I can't wait. We're going to get to that one right out of the gate. It's the big juicy one.
Yeah.
So this is, hindsight being 2020, this is hilarious, Troy. We asked you, the listener, if you thought Upper Deck would raise the box price for the flagship series that contains Connor Bedard Young Guns, and by how much. So we gave you 3 options. Nope, they're not going to raise the price at all. 24% of people thought that Upper Deck wasn't going to raise the price, or whoever does. 39% said, yeah, they're going to raise the price, but it'll be less than 15%. Wishful thinking there too. And then 38% we said oof 15% or more increase, and it's like, yeah, we did not have double as an option on there, but
100%.
in total, 63% of respondents to our poll predicted a 15% or less increase on
Yep.
what will be Series 2 hobby boxes. No, that's not good. What's crazy about that too is that you can tell by the way we worded the question that we didn't even know what series he was going to be
Yeah.
in at the time. So
Yep.
then here's an interesting one. We asked listeners who would have the highest selling card of 2023. We gave 4 options: Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, and Connor McDavid. Gretzky won by far with 61% of the vote. Not a lot of believers in top end Gordie Howe and Bobby Orr. 3% for Howe and 2% for Orr. And then McDavid came in at 33%. So of the 4, the correct answer was McDavid, who with a 2015-16 Ultimate Collection Rookies NHL Shield Patch 101 that was a PSA authentic, sold for $181,000 US on September 13th. But that was not the most expensive hockey card this year. That card was actually
Oh, sorry. Here, if you're watching on YouTube, this is the McDavid. Sorry, I was late to the game.
Yeah, very beautiful card. It was at the National. A lot of people saw it there. I think Karn and Slab Sharks has it because I think he had it at his booth at the Fall Expo as well. But the most expensive hockey card, Troy, sold this year, 2005 The Cup, Alexander Ovechkin, RPA out of 99, PSA 10, sold for $182,400 US on June 11th. So whopping $600 more than the McDavid rookie. So there you go for top sales. Then there's just some quick ones that I wanted to roll through. So we did a bunch of like players like who has more upside and kind of this player, that player. So one of the 2 options was Jack Hughes or Kirill Kaprizov. 59% people said Jack Hughes. Those people are smart. I voted Kaprizov with my heart, and definitely has not been the case.
Nope.
Then we asked Trevor Zegras or Cole Caulfield. A lot of people got this one right too. 69% said Cole Caulfield, and we all know even though he's not played well this year, it's been much better than Trevor Zegras. So got that one right too. And then the last one I thought that was kind of fun to look into was we asked who's going to have more hobby upside, Tage Thompson or Jason Robertson. And 70% picked Jason Robertson, and we're definitely Thompson's another guy. I don't think Robertson's been like fantastic. He's doing okay, just not scoring a lot of goals, but producing points. And Tage has been injured, and the whole Buffalo, they're just a mess.
Yeah.
So, all right, Troy. But enough about 2023. It's 2024 now. It's a new year, so we wanted to transition to spending a little time looking ahead. So I've been thinking a lot, like what should we do as far as like previewing 2024 and the hockey hobby. And I kept, I guess, my mind floating back to the big picture. And this sort of like central theme that has really resonated with me in that I just think this is going to be an epic year for the hobby. So I'm going to state my case as to why, and then you're going to tell me if I'm crazy or if you agree with me too. But you're probably going to tell me I'm crazy. I'm really excited to be part of the hobby right now. Again, I think this is going to be an amazing year. And by saying that too, I'm not saying that there's not going to be problems or things aren't going to, or hobby drama, right? That comes up because there's always going to be that stuff. But I just think in general, all the stars have aligned. A lot of work has been made to really kind of make this a big banner year in the hobby. The first thing that when I was thinking about why it's so awesome right now is we actually have 3 generations of current playing hobby superstars. Right. And I think that some years like you get gaps or like what's like in the NFL right now, right? They're so quarterback poor.
Yeah.
Like you can't even name the quarterbacks on half the teams because they've been through them, and it's just not a lot of fun when you don't have Peyton Mannings and Troy Aikmans and all those Andrew Lucks and all those superstars out there. So you start like with the old guard, right? You got Crosby and Ovechkin. You got 36-year-old Crosby playing out of his mind. Ovi scored a goal the other day. That's good, right?
Not an empty netter.
Not an empty netter. But in all seriousness, both players, they have their legacies are solid. They're all
Yeah.
time greats, and they should be big time hobby chases for the foreseeable futures. And so I think like now it's about just enjoying the fact that they're still playing and that we have these two legendary players that are still out there. It's not that they're not chasing anything. I think they're kind of trying to reach new heights, of course. For Ovi, you know, it's the goals record, of course, and his market I think is going to largely be dependent on if he can kick that up a little bit and start scoring some more goals. And I don't even really know. I mean, my worry with Crosby, Troy, is that he could have an amazing season and the Penguins don't make the playoffs, and then it just seems like a big lost opportunity for the hockey world, doesn't it?
Yeah, it would stink if that happened, but it might actually happen because I don't think anyone predicted this for him this year.
And again, it's tough because Ovechkin hasn't had a great 30-game run, but I don't know. I just feel like that you don't get these opportunities to see these guys continue to continue to play at a high level, and it's just going to be for a couple more years. And so, moral of the story to me is appreciate their greatness and enjoy them while we still can. And to me, if I'm upper deck, like I'm really trying to like leverage this right now. I'm trying to come up with like in big sets some really cool. I know that they have, especially in the rookie year, a lot of like dual auto kind of dual memorabilia cards, but I would be trying to find a way to have them go out with a bang from the hobby too. Does that make sense to you?
Yep, makes total sense. I hope they can figure something out.
But that's just the old guard, and then you got sort of the middle generation of like current superstars, where still in their prime, still elevating their game, and that's kind of like what I call like the McDavid and Matthews category. They're I think Troy in legacy building mode,
Yeah,
right? And I was listening a week or two ago. I don't know if you by chance see the Joe Buck interview with Wayne Gretzky?
I saw bits and pieces like in reels that were on like Instagram.
There's a part of that interview that I actually want to go back and find some point and maybe clip or write down as a transcript, because I can't remember the exact context, but the conversation came up about winning and winning championships. And Gretzky like came out and flat out said, like, for himself and the players of his era, you had to win in order to be considered a great.
Mm-hmm.
And then he almost like immediately recognized what he did. I think it was his true feelings, but then it's what's this? Because him being a legendary Oilers, and then with McDavid, he kind of started walking it back a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, I kind of agree with him.
Yeah.
I don't think that as good as Connor McDavid is, or as many goals as Austin Matthews scores, if they don't ever win, I don't know how you can be in the GOAT or Mount Rushmore type conversation with no championship. It just doesn't. I don't think it works.
Yeah, I agree with you, even though it kind of stinks that hockey's such a team game and you're only one guy usually. And a lot of times, well, back in the 80s, I guess Gretzky could probably carry a whole team, but I don't think that can happen now. We've seen it with McDavid, how good he is, and they still can't get to the finals. But I agree with you. I think you have to have a championship to be considered in that top echelon greatest of all time players.
And it's like the goalie thing, man. I mean, we keep coming back to it. We talked about a lot, but so I was trying to, I'm trying to think, well, what do we want to say about McDavid and Matthews? And could it be this year for you? I mean, what if in 2024 they broke through and one of them got that Stanley Cup? But then you look at the standings and it's like Toronto somehow is like 7th in the Eastern Conference. And I want to say the Oilers are like 10th or something. Yeah, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I mean, how is that crazy when you have arguably the two best players currently in the NHL, not that might not even make the playoffs?
When do one of them start giving back some salary? So, even though I don't think players should ever have to do that. I think that's ridiculous. But at some point, I guess the older you get, the more you want to win, and that conversation comes up.
Yeah, I don't think the Players Associations would ever allow that either.
No, they shouldn't either.
So I think like following them as they continue to produce numbers and see how much better they can still get is going to drive more hobby interest. And then if somehow they can make a playoff run, I mean, I would think at this point it would be Toronto that would be much more likely to win the cup than Edmonton, don't you?
Yeah, I I agree with that.
Okay, but now we got to hone in on Austin Matthews a little bit. And if you haven't noticed, he's having a pretty incredible season. He's got 29 goals in 33 games. That's a 72 goal pace, Troy.
Yep.
Nobody has scored 70 or more goals in a season since Teemu Selanne and Alexander Mogilny had 72 and 76 respectively in 1992-93.
Don't worry though, McGillney's still not in the Hall of Fame. It's okay. Let's just forget about that for now.
Does he have a Stanley Cup?
I don't know, probably not. I'll look it
now,
up.
remember too that I think Matthews just turned 26 in September. He already has 328 career goals. So before his 27th birthday, he could have 400 or so goals. And I'm already working on something in subsequent episodes, but what he's achieved to this point is super impressive. And then he had a pretty downish year already at 40 goals last year. Which is, again, we've said a million times, is funny that a down year for a player is 40 goals. But
he was injured, we think.
He was injured.
And McGillney has a cup. McGillney has a cup with the Devils.
So again, I just think this year is good. It's going to be awesome to see what he does. Now he's a 2016 Young Guns PSA 10 pop 3,294, 70% gem rate, less sold for 1,052 US on December 30th. It's up 32% in the past month and 38% in the past 3 months. Okay, so now the third tier, Troy, is
if you're watching YouTube, this has turned into a gong show. I don't know what's going on with my computer. It's slowly cycling through all the images. So I'm just going to let it sit here.
All right. It's well, the next one is the right one. It's the Hughes and Bedard. And again, I found another, I think, awesome Jack Hughes photo.
So, I'm sorry, it got deleted somehow. I know it was just up on the screen. I don't know what's going on.
No worries. So we talked about these three generations of stars. You have Ovechkin and Crosby, McDavid, and Matthews, and then now you have Hughes and Bedard, which I'm kind of calling is the hopeful or potential superstars, right? Now Hughes is a little bit ahead of Bedard, of course, because he's got a lot more experience and he's kind of actualizing, better performance to date. Where it's tough to judge Connor Bedard too harshly, just 30 or so games into his career. But it's really important, though, this group, because there's nothing that the hobby thrives on more, Troy, than hope and potential. And for these two guys in particular, the sky seems limitless right now. And it's not just them, right? They're part of a dynamic group of smaller, but supremely talented and flashy young players that have the ability to, I think, drive new fans into the game and new collectors into the hobby. And then when you look at it, and I think it's bigger than Hughes and Bedard.
Mm-hmm.
To me, what would be really, what I'm almost even most interested in this year is you have this huge pool, and I'm going to rattle off a bunch of names, and we could probably stop at 50, right? You have the likes of Cole Caulfield, Trevor Zegras, Byfield, McTavish, Beniers, Boldy, Rossi, Wyatt Johnston, Kent Johnson, Adam Fantilli, Leo Karlsson, William Eklund, Logan Cooley, Luke Hughes. And again, we keep going and going and going on this. But one or two of these guys in the next year or so could kind of really set themselves apart and from the rest, and where the others kind of just fall back maybe into more average players. So I always think that that's fun to see, because we know it's not going to be 20. The hobby doesn't work that way. The sport doesn't work that way. But and it might not be one of the guys I named either. Did I forget any kind of young prospects that are high on your radar?
Some of the goalie guys, but goalies are just a forgotten breed. Plus, scoring's up again, I think, this year, so no one cares about goalies anymore.
But last thing in the group, and I think this is where we have to focus on Connor Bedard a little bit, is that, if we're being honest, and we're talking about 2024, Troy, it's the Connor Bedard chase is going to carry the hobby this year. It'll be
Yeah.
there's no doubt it's going to be the overarching theme. It'll be the biggest story. It'll be where the most focus is. And we should have a ton of great products coming out that keep the cash registers flowing at LCSs and break spots full. He's currently pacing for 35 goals, 75 points, which I think is good, maybe not fantastic. Would love to see him maybe get closer to 40 goals if he's going to be this ridiculous of a chase
Yeah.
yet this season. But I don't know, Troy. For me, it's like 2024 is Bedard's hobby, and we're just all living in it. It's gonna.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I will say this too: the NHL, they every time on that PR account, they put out some Bedard stat or something crazy. I mean, they're pumping it too. Like they know what they got. So at least I'll give them credit for Seaman trying to do it right by Bedard and putting him out there all the time on some record that he's in the top 10 for now or some crazy stat.
One thing too that hit me that I think is related to this when I was thinking about Connor Bedard and the hobby in 2024 is we were all a little shell shocked and maybe critical at times this summer and spring, especially at Upper Deck, for basically carpet bombing the hobby with product after product after product, relentless. But it does kind of now that it actually feels like we're more caught up to me. Does it feel like that to you?
Oh, for sure. Like even when we were trying to think, okay, I know we missed one or two sets when we were thinking about 21, 22. We thought they were all out
Yeah.
except for a couple of them. But I think that was a big step. Now it's on to 2020, 22, 23 and get all those out. And there's not that many more left, besides, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're doing a job. We know they had to catch up. They were trying to get all this stuff out before Bedard. Series 2
But
comes out.
yeah, and I think so the net effect, of course, is then that we should have in this calendar year a lot of 2023-24 products come out. And again, if you think about what the situation was 18 months ago, I mean, it would have sucked if they were still kind of as far back as they were, and you have Connor Bedard playing and playing well, and the first product is like 6 months or more,
Yeah.
down the road.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think the fact that they've gotten caught up is really going to help cash in and kind of satiate everybody's excitement around Bedard this year. So another thing I was thinking about as to what is going to make this super interesting this year in my mind, and it's not going to be till the second half of the year, of course, but we haven't brought this up maybe as much as we should. So Fanatics takes over as the official jersey manufacturer for the
Hmm.
2024-25 season. So that means when the new season rolls around in October, they're going to be Fanatics jerseys. And so I think it can make things really interesting. The $64,000 question is, what does that mean? And does it get them more aggressive about pursuing hockey licensing on the sports cards end
Yep.
now that they're in the jersey game? Will they be promoting, using their Fanatics marketing platform to promote jerseys and hockey more?
Yep.
And with the high tide raises all ships sort of philosophy, have that benefit the hobby as well? I don't know. Do you think that could shake things up at all with them taking over officially as the jersey manufacturer?
I think so. I think they have their sights. They have to have their sights set on the NHL and what they can do. I was always curious too. Can they go the sticker route? Because that's one way, right? You can do stickers isn't exclusive to Tops. That's why Tops, right? Is that how? I don't know how that. Is there any other thing they can get into before trying to buy the card license? If that's
Oh,
a thing. Like
yeah,
what
they do it
else?
now because they own Tops because they got the
Oh,
sticker
they're
thing.
just
Yeah.
talking to myself. Okay. Yeah. But I'm curious if they try to do that before I I do think there's a showdown coming up. I don't know when the license expires, the current one with Upper Deck and the NHL and the NHLPA, but I gotta believe Fanatics has that in their sights.
I think it was undisclosed, but described as long term. And I
Yeah.
tend to agree with you because it seems like Fanatics kind of wants it all, right?
Yep.
They don't seem satisfied having a piece of the pie. It seems like they want the whole pie. So So yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what happens as that relationship officially begins to roll out. We talked about this a little bit last episode, but another reason why I'm really excited for 2024 is interest in the game, right? We talked about the TV
Yep.
ratings are going up. Um, we're seeing a lot of young talent, a lot of flashy talent. We had 2 Michigan goals, Trevor Zegras and Connor Bedard in one game. Uh, I didn't see any numbers, and I don't know if they're published even anywhere, but you'd have to imagine within the next 2 days after that, the amount of social views of those clips had to be astronomical, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I believe they had to be because it was 2 Michigan goals on the same day, so it's pretty crazy. Just one creates a buzz, and now you get 2.
Yeah, and, there's expansion talk, right? And
Yeah.
the it hadn't hit me that I don't think sports leagues, like, start to leak out the idea of expansion if things are going crappy,
Yeah.
right? So it's just another indication that the game is growing and that, I think that benefits the hobby this year with all
Agree.
they're like you said, they're not screwing up the Bedard marketing job so far, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, they're leaving that to
And
the hockey card people to screw that up.
a couple more things. So in addition, I think the hobby is really, of course, engaged and fired up and ready to roll. It's like we're the what's the analogy I was trying to think of? It's like they're locked and loaded. Maybe that's the best way to put it. But we've seen, of course, prices are down, but we've seen tons of show traffic. We've seen tons of cards being sold,
Yep.
and that's all. None of that's new. Like the expo has been nuts. What I still don't know though, and I'm really fascinated to learn, and we're going to learn probably in the next 60 days, is this whole concept of like war chesting,
Yeah.
right? So everyone was saying like, well, and it's a logical premise, right? That well, a lot of these new products that maybe 2022 trilogy or something like that doesn't sell well, or lures prices already dropped because everyone's war chesting for Bedard. So if that's true, then everything should be totally bananas
Yeah.
when that set comes out. Or maybe has that been overestimated a little bit? What are you expecting in that regard?
Well, I'm expecting that. That's all we've heard is everyone's war chesting, so I'm going with it. I actually, it will be interesting because I don't have a precedence for this. So I wasn't really, well, I mean, I was just getting back into it 2015, 16 when you had the McDavid stuff. But everything we've heard is that people are war chesting. They're just sitting on all their money right now waiting for Series 2.
And I think it's fair to say too that nothing with Connor Bedard. Well, I should let me put it this way: almost everything related to Connor Bedard has flown in the face of precedents and bucked the trend. And
Yeah.
so, like, I get like when there's like a huge, whether it be the Easter egg, right, where he's like just like standing on draft day in a jersey, or a Team Canada sale, or WHL sale, where people the sort of the reflexive kind of notion that, oh man, if you paid $6,000 for a card, it's going to be worth nothing when his Young Gun sells out, because that's sort of the conventional logic, right?
Yep.
And that's sort of how we've all been trained to think. But nothing seems to go that way with this guy. So part of me is like, when even with the Easter egg that one that sold for 10,000, I think one
10,000.
sold for more than that. A couple $100, but the week after. So at this point, I'm not shocked by anything related to
Yeah.
Connor Bedard. I'm just not. Last thing is, I'm gonna. This isn't a prediction. This isn't a reason as to why the you know it's going to be an epic year in the hobby, but it's more of like on my wish list, maybe hopeful thinking. I'm really hoping that all the weirdness and uncertainty in our economy and that's trickled into the sports card market is hopefully at least stabilizing. Of course, nobody can ever predict an economy or a market. Nobody. There's no chance. But we do know that all this stuff is cyclical, right? It doesn't stay down forever. It doesn't stay up forever. It tends to go up and down through times. And it's been kind of a rough 18 months or so. I have no idea what will happen in 2024, Troy, but if you do follow like what the macroeconomics speak, is that, people keep the thing that I've noticed over the last year, and I don't know how much you followed it, is that people keep predicting doom and gloom and it never happens.
Oh, that's human nature, though. I think economy stuff. I think we're okay. I again, I'm not an expert on this stuff. I think it's more the geopolitical stuff that people should be worried about. But I don't know how is
Probably.
that going to translate to the card market if something breaks out. But I think it sounds like the economy is kind of making a turn, but the geopolitical stuff is the bigger concern. But obviously, way out of my league. I'm talking about that stuff.
Yeah, and then it's not worth digging in more. But I think my point here is that if we can have at least like a stable hobby market, and God forbid, or or maybe even if we're lucky, like a tick up or something like that, I think it'll make this year even that much better.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Let me know your overall thoughts. Do you think are you convinced that this should be kind of an I guess the
Well,
way
I
I put it,
think
like an epic hobby year?
yeah, I mean, you're not saying it's gonna be the greatest hobby year ever. We're not saying that. It's just gonna be epic with a lot of stuff going on. And I think most of that's driven by Bedard, I think is the huge catalyst. And then you add in all these other things. Yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I can't wait.
I just hope that it's like, how people will constantly refer to 05, 06, and then 15, 16,
Hmm.
right? That 5 years from now, 8 years from now, 10 years from now, we look at 2024 as sort of or the 2023-24
Yeah.
releases, I guess. In that. All right, just I got a note in new product releases that was kind of interesting. This is so half baked, but I just got to say it. So I got another Dave and Adams email today,
Oh, oh, are they selling out
almost
again?
like verbatim the lingo that they were doing a series 2 around hurry, last chance before it's too late around the cup. And
No
so
way.
as we've
Highly
learned
doubt it's
now,
selling out. No way.
well, that's the thing. It's like, are they trying to raise the price a little bit from about 1100 US dollars? Or is the cup selling well enough to that it could be there's no way it's selling out. I mean, I'm
Yeah, I don't think it's up. But then I started thinking to myself, it's like, well, they know the 22 cup release is going to be down probably, given the rookie class.
yeah,
So maybe people are jumping on this one while they can.
maybe I don't know. So it's just something to watch. I just want to throw it out there because it's
Yeah.
something to watch. I'm gonna try to find more information on that. And then the only other note, new product releases is still looks like 2022-23 ice, January 12th. Before you get to mailbag, just a quick mention for PWCC, who is a Gongshow partner and sponsor. Of course, very grateful to them for their support. Reminder: the current PWCC weekly auction is live, ends this Sunday night. I'm going to be back after a 2-week break on our YouTube live show with Jeremy Lee starting at 8:30 Central for our first auction close of 2024. We do that on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live. Hope to see you in the chat. So in the meantime, go to pwccmarketplace.com, place your bids on the cards, and then also, don't forget they have over 5,000 hockey cards in their fixed price marketplace. And then on Thursday's show, like we always do, we'll have our favorite vintage and modern cards picked out. Mailbag time, Troy.
All right, mailbag.
Got some good questions this week, so like it. First one, right off the bat, hits us like we're organized and we think about things. Instagram Hall of Fame hockey cards. What are your hobby goals for 2024? I'll let you start. Troy.
I totally stole yours for this year. It's the more I look around in my office, and I'm pretty well organized, but I'm still kind of getting clutter, and I kind of want to curtail my collection. Like you said, I got to get over the pack rat that I need to keep every single base card, and I need to figure out how to move those, give them, donate them, do something with them. But I think that's what I really want to do. I want to kind of make the collection a little bit smaller and more focused, like you've been kind of doing with your stuff this year.
Yeah, and that's my hobby goal is to kind of continue on that. And I think it's gonna be really hard because there's gonna be Bedard FOMO
Yeah.
lore this year. But I'm actually really happy with the progress I've made in my collection. I kind of felt like I was just like chasing stuff and I didn't know why before, but now like I have probably like 5 or 6 cards that I'm really really excited about and that I want to have long term. So if I could double that or triple it, I'd
Mm.
be really happy this year. Next question, Instagram Stells 20. He has 2 questions, but good ones though. Should PSA introduce a superior grade to a PSA 10 like BGS or SGC? I'll let you go first.
So I've thought about this, and again, I hate grading. I'm not the biggest grader, but I've always thought PSA should do something like that. But then I started thinking, I'm like, well, BGS, everyone loves the black label. I don't think I've ever heard people say the black label is dumb or anything. So why
No, it's
can't
awesome.
PSA? Yeah, it's a great, and I don't know why PSA couldn't do something. But the more I think about it, maybe PSA doesn't need to do it because they're obviously number one grader by far and away. And maybe they just don't see the value in creating something like that. But I've always thought they should.
Yeah, I don't think I've thought through like the unintended consequences enough to really know if I have like a solid opinion on this because if they didn't, it'd have to be really cool. Like we'll talk about another example in a second, but where it was like had a big wow factor, and
Yeah,
then it's like, would they be prepared? Are people going to send in like 20 million PSA 10s trying to
try to get.
resub or regrade? And is that what they want for their business? Would that be good for the hobby? I just don't know. So,
Yeah, if you
um,
could make it really cool looking, which would anything's cooler looking than what PSA has right now. Those labels are dumb. They just don't look. They don't look. They're not dumb. They just don't look
they've
good.
they've put zero effort into
Yeah,
presentation.
they look like they're big on a dot matrix printer, and they're just not that good looking. But I always think back to how BGS, even though they didn't grade it, that Magic the Gathering 101 card, the ring,
Yeah,
that they created that custom holder or custom whatever case for a
yeah.
BGS grade was the coolest thing ever. It was like written in Elvish, and it's like, could you make something really, really cool like that? Then go for it.
All right, Stelza, second question, which is related. Do you think SGC should redesign their SGC 10 pristine label to make it more visually different from the regular SGC 10? 100% yes. I think that they're shooting themselves in the foot. It's a big and I think too, because they use the gold term, because they
Yeah,
have that, like they call it what, the tuxedo black
yeah.
slab or insert or whatever it is, or inlay, that if they have like a really shiny gold label, it would pop on that to a huge degree. And they're just being not smart by any
I,
means.
I I don't know how that ever got approved. If you don't know what we're talking about, SGC 10 pristine labels, they're basically the same, but they have a little gold border around the label, if I remember right, is how it is. And
Yeah.
if you just glance real quick, you'll miss it. You just think it's a regular 10. It's just I can't believe that's what they decided to go with. But you maybe can't have a gold shiny one because then it looks too much like Beckett. But you got to figure something else out.
All right, Instagram, top shelf cookie sniper 88. With the new year approaching, what are your guys' lessons learned this past year with collecting or the podcast? What are your 2024 goals for both also? Well, we kind of talked about our goals, but I thought the lessons learned is good. I'll let you start there as well too.
Yeah, I still don't know anything there. No, nothing there. No. When it comes to buying, it's still wax is not where it's at. If you want to make money, go for singles. However, I will never stay away from wax. So I've learned that I just love ripping wax a lot. From the podcast perspective, it doesn't get any easier. I can tell you that after doing it. What are we coming up on? 2 years? It becomes more work, I think, just because now you have kind of this base of knowledge and your research, you're kind of getting that down and you know all the different areas to find information and look up stuff. So it's not one of those things that gets like easier or less time consuming. In fact, I think it takes more time.
That's
So it's a
crazy
little
because I've been having those thoughts. I'm like, how is
yeah.
this getting harder? The fact that we just keep, yeah, it's crazy. I think the big lesson learned, I agree with you on the wax, is that wax is for fun, but and it's probably just more along the lines of focus, like how important
Yeah.
focus is, and that there's so much noise and so many cards that you kind of get distracted by
Hmm.
and maybe impulse buy that you like shove in a box and never appreciate again. And I just
Yeah.
want to stop doing that. And so really trying to focus in that area. Instagram, the real McCards. What is the most overrated subset of the cup? Not the worst, most overrated. So this is a hard one to answer
Yeah. I had no
because
good
it's
answer. I had zero answer.
it's purely subjective, and so I can only answer it to me, right? And I can't because my answer is I don't like the rookie class cards. I know Mitch really liked them when he did our cup. I don't like rookie portraits. I just don't. And so
Yeah.
to me, it's overrated. But there might be like I could be in the great minority there. But that's what I would say is because it's just really plain and it's not very interesting to me.
I don't know what the subset is, but I guess and I might be not talking about cup cards, but the ones that I think I remember that are really like they're almost clear backgrounds that the auto's on. It might be a picture, and then I hate when the auto's hard to see, and I don't know what's that. I know there's a subset that has it.
Oh, brilliance.
Is it that what it is? Yeah, those
Yeah.
brilliants might, unless it's someone I PC, then I go for it. But I when they're really hard to see, and I just haven't been a big fan of those.
All right, next question from Instagram, Stells20. Not so easy of a question to answer, but what do achievement cards generally sell for in comparison to the closest card from that set? For instance, I recently traded a 2016 Ultimate Collection Austin Matthews VIP Signature Auto. It's not numbered, but based on availability, the last 3 year sales, etc., I have to believe there are less than 50, maybe fewer. It is a tough question to answer, and I think for two reasons. The first is you're right. A lot of these achievement cards can be very unique, but I think what hurts their hobby, maybe market or values, is they're under the radar or people just don't know about them. So it's
Yeah,
hard to kind of really chase and maybe bid up in an auction a card you may have never seen or heard of before. And I think so you'd have to find those achievement cards that kind of have really high visibility. The other side of the spectrum is we've seen a number of achievement cards in the last year or so that are just basically very similar, if not almost identical to cards from the regular set. So we've seen like the Jambalaya for Connor McDavid, where he's wearing a different color jersey, or there's the metallics ones that are basically the same but are numbered in the achievement. And I think that what we've seen from like secondary market perspective is they'll sell for much less than
yeah,
the people prefer. And I kind of fall into that category too. I don't know about you, Troy, but if it's going to be almost the same card, I think I want the one from the quote unquote regular set.
agree. I Achievement cards have been one of those things that have never excited me. I've kind of looked at them when EPAC does them with like speckles, rainbows, but it just seemed like way too much work that I'll just go buy the single. But as the value, I don't have a good answer for this, but this would be an interesting case study if anyone wants to take a year out of their life and research this.
No kidding. All right, from Discord, Blade Visionary. What is one thing you guys would suggest that would infuse a jolt of excitement into the hockey card hobby in 2024? I thought of two things, Troy. I
Yep.
think a really good, well executed follow up to SP Signature Edition Legends.
Yep.
And then for me, and I've said this I think before, but I think the longer it takes for the Connor Bedard 101 Young Guns to pull, the better it is
Yeah.
overall for the hobby because the more kind of the excitement just builds and builds and builds versus it's almost like you're shell shocked when it
Yep.
happens right away.
Yep. I would say I agree with you 100% on the SP Signature Edition Legends. Like I think Upper Deck should try to do 2 of those sets a year.
Really?
Yeah, just not I'm not saying do SP Signature. You can't do the same one
Yeah.
again, but 2 legendary sets. I don't know how, like, if they're new, whatever. I think they should try to get 2 a year. If not, for sure 1. I think this has to be an ongoing thing. This legend set.
Yeah.
I think it was such a win. It was so cool. The other thing I was thinking about, and this probably is going backwards, but it would garner excitement for me. They need to call some of these releases. I think they have way too many sets
Yeah.
right now. I think they need to take a step back and take out 2 or 3, and just every year reevaluate that. I just think there's way, and this is just from the Upper Deck side with all the releases. I
Yeah.
just think there's too many.
Good answer. From Twitter X Sebastian Engelhart. I've recently become a huge fan of Premier Mega Patches. The values are crazy, even for players that aren't normally quote unquote hobby relevant. Do you think they are the best non autographed memorabilia cards? If not, what do you think it is? I love the Premier Mega Patches too, and I'm inclined to say that they're the best, but then I thought it right away, Troy. There's the new limited
I
logos
had
that
the
are
same
non
exact
auto.
thought. I saw the same exact thought you did. Like those are, I don't know if they're not autoed, and we love limited logos, or else you go the other route, kind of like Mitch was like, how can you have a limited logo without an auto?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little more controversial in the moment,
Yep.
but a year or two from now, it'll be interesting to see how the non-auto limited logos kind of
Hmm.
compares to the Premier Mega Patch. Instagram, Kevin M. Cormier. when I was a kid, no one on any youth hockey team, whether it be ice hockey or street hockey, ever wore 99. Because if you did, well, you better be the best player out
Yeah.
there. Does that exist anymore? Is it 97 now? Will it be 98? I'm really curious to get your point because you're very active in coaching. Um, I don't think I'd ever want my kid to wear 99. I think that's just setting them up for failure. I'm not sure 98 or 97 carry the same weight as 99 does, but I do think in any of those three, you are you're putting more spotlight on yourself. You're putting more focus on yourself and kind of trying to get more attention. And to some certain kids that benefits and other kids it doesn't. So do you guys in all the teams you coach, do you have like ways you handle those numbers?
So it's funny. I'll give two kind of perspectives. So when I was a kid, so I love how he starts this question out when I was a kid. Yes, when I was a kid, guess what? We had 1 and 30. That was your two goalies. The rest were two through whatever, 18, however many players you had on the team. There was no deviating from that. And I don't think many of the teams we played as a kids ever deviated from that. Now, somewhere along the line, we've had kind of the individuality, the more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, stylish or trying to be different.
Yeah.
Now the numbers are all over the place. My son's a goalie. He wears 94. Go figure.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things. I don't think 98, 97 are that big of a deal. 99 still probably has a little, yeah, you better be good if you're wearing 99. But Bedard's so recent that kids have been wearing
Yeah.
98, 97 before that. So I think it's just expected now. Kids are gonna be, they like high numbers, they like goofy, or they like different numbers. It's not
Yeah.
like we used to be, but still I say the 99 still has a little bit of that. You're gonna wear that, you better be good.
It's like wearing 42 in youth baseball.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
should just stay away from it. If
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you on the night, and I think a lot of associations, like I remember even growing up playing basketball, like they would assign nobody 23
Yeah,
because they didn't
true.
want kids fighting over it,
Yeah.
all bent out of shape over Michael Jordan's numbers.
Yeah.
All right, Instagram, Adam Luck. What are your thoughts on SGC or BGS trying to gain hockey market share by grading special for Series 2? Seems to be closing the gap for SGC and baseball with their bombing promos. I would love that idea. I think that would be awesome. And anything to promote the hockey hobby and bring extra attention to it is a great thing in my mind and would be really smart,
Yeah.
I think, from their perspective too.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. BGS to me should be the one that jumps all over this since they've taken the most hit and they were the most, I mean, they're kind of synonymous with hockey for, back in the day, a couple or 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a point where more cards are great and more hockey cards are great with BGS than PSA. And what's it? It's McDavid, right? McDavid has more graded copies of BGS, the Young Guns, right? I
I think
think.
Matthews too.
Yeah. So I think that would be something they would jump on. But SGC, I think if they want to try to make a dent in hockey, might be a good thing too.
All right, Facebook, JVD. Is Zegras trying to force the Ducks' hand to get dealt out of Anaheim? I'm not sure it's his intention,
Yeah.
Jay, but I think the vibes have just been so bad in the whole environment there, going back to the summer, and I'm not sure, like, it's just not a good environment for him. I don't know what the issue is. He got 2 goals and 4 points in 15 games played. He's been injured, of course, too, so you gotta give maybe another month or so to see what happens, but, we've talked about a lot, too. It's been a brutal 6 months for him, though, going back to summer and contract stuff. Maybe I'll try to amend you can answer Jay's question too, and then I'll add one on to there. Do you think if it's kind of status quo through the end of this year that the likelihood of them finding a fresh start for the team and him is more and more likely?
It seems like it. I think they're moving that way now. I was just checking his contract. He's not a free. He's a restricted free agent after the 25-26 season. It looks
But
like.
he's got a very low, I mean, relatively like 4.5 million, so a very tradable contract too,
Yeah.
right?
Or yeah, this says 5.75, but I don't know if that's the cap hit or what. But yes, it's definitely manageable from another team. And he's young, 22.
All right, we're going to finish off with Instagram, Southeast Mike. He had 2 questions. He said, I noticed on 2022-23 SP retail cards, they say SP Authentic on the back, despite these being 2 separate products. Do you believe this is a product-wide printing mistake or are the two products not as separate as I thought? I would guess it's a printing error. You're right that they're technically different products, but really
Yeah.
SP Retail is just a stripped down version of SP Authentic that doesn't include the Future Watch Autos. And I think that's probably why they brand it differently, so that you don't have that expectation that you're going to get a Future Watch Auto in the retail product. But that would be my guess. Anything to add to that?
No, that's how I've always thought it. I mean, that's how they differentiate in the past. But if they truly say authentic on the back, I think that's a blunder. Because it used
Then
to
he
say,
says
I think it said it used to say SP Hockey, right? Is that what
something like that.
I think that maybe I'm totally wrong and it did say authentic, but I don't think so.
Then he has follow-up question or non-card related question. What are your thoughts on the new Minnesota State flag? I'm so happy you kind of asked this. I'm sorry to bore everyone out.
Okay, I'll bring it up for you. There you go.
I'm so out of it, Troy. Why are we getting a new state flag? Do you know, like, what's the impetus?
So I've been following this because I love this. The whole process is just mind-boggling.
Oh, you're into.
It's called what's it called? Vexillology, I think, is the actual study of flags or something. But so if you're watching on YouTube, this is the new flag. This is the winner. I think it's the North Star. You can see the state of Minnesota in very
navy blue.
Yeah, it's very abstract. And then this would probably be or I don't know what this is supposed to be. Something water. Okay. So they came up with this design. I don't know. It is what it is. The old state flag is this monstrosity. If you're watching YouTube, it's just whatever. It's been our flag forever. It's ridiculous looking. There's some guy, or I don't know if that's a Native American, riding a horse. Some person in looks like jeans and a t-shirt plowing a field. It's
like a bunch of radishes around it or something like that.
I don't know. I think they may roses or they're probably aren't their lady slippers because that's our flower.
Oh yeah.
So there's some French words, whatever. So they went with this, fine. But here's the thing: anyone could submit a design, and they listed all of them. They had to show them on the Minnesota State website, and they kind of narrowed down. Everyone wants this one, and you're gonna love this. This is what someone submitted. This as the new design. It's a picture of their dog. They're the only one that submitted this, and everyone wants this. Everyone wants this to be the new flag, because it would be just awesome. God. Just a picture of this, whatever, golden retriever.
That's a lab, right?
Yeah, golden lab. It is so awesome. People loved it. I wish they would have done it, but no, we got this thing. Yeah, so they decided we needed a new flag, and it is.
But do you know why though? Like it was. Is there like was it think it was like insensitive to Native American people?
I thought maybe it was part insensitivity, something. I didn't really read all the real reasons, but it was. But now, and since we live in such an awesome time that there's certain counties that are already threatening to sue because they don't want to fly the new flag. They like the old one, so whatever. Go for it. I don't care. But I'm fine with the new flag.
A flag podcast too?
Maybe. I'm fine with the new flag. I want this flag. I want the dog.
Are we big fat losers again for personal pickups? Is that the consensus?
Yeah, I didn't know what buying cards is. And I was gonna go to the card shop, but I didn't. So I am a big fat loser. Excuse me.
We have an order of wax that is being held by UPS hostage. So I'll talk to you about that later. So we'll have some wax to talk about later.
What we order from Canada or something?
No.
Oh,
no. Exactly. All right. Well, that's our show. Happy New Year to everybody again. If you like the episode, please leave a rating review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us on the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our out of $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. Link is in the show description, both podcast apps and on YouTube. It's on our website and the Become a Patron link at hockeycardsgongshow.com. You go to the Patreon website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show, or it's in our Instagram and TikTok profile as well. We are on social media. Hey, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. Have a great start to your new year, and we'll see you on Thursday.